like I'm living in the wrong time.
Okay, so I'm going to talk you through about 9 steps in the mix. The first, obviously, is to import all the audio into the session, and that looks like this. Nothing is in any particular order. It's come in alphabetically, so we don't have numbered tracks, which is always a good idea when sending your tracks to be mixed, is to number them in the order that they are in your session. So we'll have a quick listen to this audio as it stands.
Hey, yeah, was it always this way? Hey, maybe it's supposed to stay crazy.
So there's no leveling or panning. We want to start with that, obviously. But before we start leveling and panning, we need to do a bit of housekeeping. So the first thing I've done, because this is part of an album and I've already mixed a couple of tracks, is I've got some effects buses already set up, which I just copy the folder from another song into this song, so that I'm just starting with some similar ideas for things to send into. So chorus, echo, plate, room, and then a slightly bigger reverb to use. So that speeds up the process. I don't have to think about too many different choices. Obviously, I can change these effects choices whenever I want. But, for me, as a starting point, throwing in this folder into every song just means that I'm kind of pushing things in the same direction in terms of what effects are going on. Now, the next stage I'd get to is to put things into folders. So I've got vocals, BVs, then I like to have drums.
And then percussion. And actually I've got the bass down here. I normally put the bass a bit further up, just under the percussion. And then keyboards, guitars.
So if I collapse all these folders, it looks like this. We have
effects, vocals, BVs, drums, loops, cymbals, toms, percussion, bass, pads, keys, acoustic, electric guitars, classical guitars.
Still no leveling going on. And I've got a kind of channel strip that's loaded itself by default onto each folder. So if you look at all the tracks, you've got the folder with a channel strip, nothing on this track, folder with a channel strip. I think, in fact, what happened was I ended up swapping out a lot of these for something different. So it was a kind of default setting that I had that I've ended up not using. So the other thing I've done here, if we look at the audio, is I've pulled all the clips down by 9 dB. And that's because if you look at the... So you can see that the mix as it came to me is peaking the master bus. So I can't really work with this level. So what I've done here is selected all the audio, and then there's a shortcut here, which is set item volumes, unmuted only. I think in the past I was changing some volumes on some items, and I think if I had something like a click track that was muted, I didn't want to change that volume. So it just selects the unmuted tracks, sets the volume of selected items. That's the shortcut you want. It's an SWS shortcut, set volume of selected items. So you do that and you just type in -9. And then if we look at the master bus now, so the master bus is peaking at -7, -8, which is great. That's a really good starting point. So version 5, I've put all the tracks into folders and organized the folders. I've brought all the audio items down by 9 dB. Now what you might find you want to do here is raise the level visually of the waveforms, and the shortcut for that is here. Peaks, increase peaks view gain, and decrease peaks view gain. So that means that when you've pulled the level of the audio down that much, sometimes the default looks like you can't really see what you're doing. So you can increase the view. This isn't changing the volume of the audio, it's just making it visible again. Okay, so next bit of housekeeping before we start doing any mixing is put the song into regions. So put the song structure in. So we have count in, intro, verse 1, verse 2, chorus, chorus 2, back to the verse. It's entirely possible that you prefer to do your structuring with markers, which is fine. I like to put markers in and then I convert all my markers to regions. So the shortcut for that is convert markers to regions. The reason that I prefer to do this is when you change the markers to regions, you get a little block of color and it's much easier for me to read verse 1, verse 2, chorus 1, chorus 2 at a glance. And also you can tell the auto color options here. So anything that says bridge will be that color. Anything that has a C in it will be pink. A verse with a V will be green. So I get, it's much more readable for me. I find reading markers quite difficult. And so it's a personal preference. So I've done that. So we've got tracks in folders, the song mapped out. Now we can start leveling. So the song at the moment still sounds like this.
Hey, was it always this way? Hey, maybe it's a mistake.
So moving on to the next bit of mixing, we're putting some levels in. So if I look at some groups, say if I look at the overheads, you can see that I've pulled there's a loop in here of a hi-hat and I've pulled that down. And you can see in here, I've got a little panning within the group. So this is the folder and these are the children tracks. So I've got some panning or leveling within each folder, but then when I go to just my folder view, so these are all the tracks and these are just the folders, you can see I'm starting to level the folders this way.
Hey, was it always this way? Hey, maybe it's a mistake that we're crazy.
Okay, so there was something in this version, this track here. It had the kick tom rhythm, which seems to be quite important, but I didn't really like the hi-hat pattern because when I started to raise the level of it, the hi-hat pattern didn't really work for me. So in the loops, I think what I've done is I've made a new tom loop. Also, I've added something where it goes kick, high tom, kick, low tom, which again seemed to work a bit better for me. I don't do a huge amount of drum replacement. I try to use the recorded drums as they are. But in this song, the client had actually added some loops in as well with the drums anyway. So I felt creating a new loop seemed like it was fine to do. What else have I done in this bit? Okay, so we've got a bunch of plugins coming into play now. So if I turn off all the plugins.
Hey, you, was it always this way? Hey, you, maybe it's a mistake.
And with the plugins.
Hey, you, was it always this way? Hey, you, maybe it's a mistake.
Okay, so I've added some reverb to the vocal, and to be honest, I think I've overcooked it. By the end of the mix, I think I pull a lot of the reverb back a bit, and that's something that I have to keep an eye on, because you can start to get so used to the reverb that you don't hear it. So it's actually really useful going right back to the start, hearing the dry tracks and realizing how much reverb you've added. It's definitely something that I always need to keep an eye on.
Hey, you, was it always this way? Hey, you, maybe it's a mistake. That was crazy. Crazy.
Okay, so the next thing that happens here is the bass wasn't translating very well on different systems, and I think one of the reasons was the way that it was recorded. The signal didn't have a lot of top end in it. So another thing I think that happened was that the bass stem got time stretched, which started to give some weird artifacts in the audio. So we decided to re-record the bass at this point, because when we were listening on different systems, the bass just wasn't working, and I couldn't quite find a way to make it work. So the solution was just to re-record the bass.
Hey, you, was it always crazy? Crazy.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'll finish the video with a clip of the finished mix. I'd love to hear any feedback you might have. For me, I think what I wanted to share was the organizational workflow, which I find really useful. And over the years that I've been using Reaper, which is since 2013, 2014, I've found it's so customizable that anything you can think of, you can pretty much come up with a custom action for, or some kind of way of constructing your workflow to suit you. So again, even though there are ideas in this video that might be useful to you, there are probably also ideas in this video that are not relevant to your workflow at all. But hopefully it's given you some ideas as to how you can use Reaper to organize your mix sessions a bit better. As always, if you have any feedback or questions, I'd love to hear from you. So do get in touch through my website, johngarden.net. Thanks very much for watching.
Whispering dreams, memories. There's something calling out to me. Going crazy. How many times have I wondered why? Wasting my life on this cold M5. Going crazy. Hey, you, sitting in the other